Welcome back, and welcome to another festive foodie episode here in the Smoke Shack. Today we're going to be cooking one of the most maligned elements of the Christmas table, I think, but we're going to be making them so delicious, even the most sprout skeptical of people are going to love it. That's right, today we are making confit Brussels sprouts with bacon. Alright, and the beautiful thing about this recipe is it's really simple. It just takes time and perhaps a little bit of courage, because you're going to have a lot of butter going into these sprouts and you're going to leave them to cook well longer than you think is natural and advisable. But trust me, the result is going to be absolutely wonderful. I've converted so many people to sprouts with this recipe you wouldn't believe it. So, first off, you're going to take a sprout stalk. Now take off your sprouts and prepare them. Mrs. Wizard is much better at this than I am. She's much quicker, so we're going to switch to her doing this. One word of caution: conventional wisdom used to tell us to put an X at the bottom of every sprout. That is not only completely unnecessary, it actually results in them essentially becoming a mush and losing their texture. Don't do that. They don't need the X, especially the way we're going to cook them today. They're going to be on the stove for an hour at the least, so they do not need any help in getting cooked through. And I have no idea how many sprouts are on a stalk. I'll put the number up here once they've been weighed. But basically, once they have been, give them a rinse. Don't shake them, don't dry them. The water on those sprouts is important, so just rinse them and then pop them to one side. Next up, you're going to take a large saucepan with a lid, or a saute pan works well, that's what I'm using here. And you're going to fry off about 200 grams of bacon. Smoked bacon we're using in this case. And you can see it's been diced down to lardons. Apologies for the clatter in the background. We've still got the remnants of Storm Dara haunting our shores, but it wouldn't be Christmas in the Shires of England without some crazy weather. And you're going to want to fry off that bacon slowly. As you see, I've added no fat to this whatsoever. The fat from the bacon itself will render out and it will cook itself in that fat. But you're going to want to give it time, so I'd say about 15-20 minutes on a medium to medium low heat to start with, and then you can crank up that heat a little bit once that fat starts to bubble and once you've got a bit of liquid in that pan. So you really get those lovely brown delicious bits of fond in the pan. And once the bacon is brown to your liking, turn the pan right down as low as it will go. Take your bacon out, but leave that bacon fat in there, and add to that bacon fat about 130 grams of salted butter. Now if your pan's still really hot and that starts sizzling and browning straight away, lift the pan off the heat. You don't want that butter to brown too rapidly. Once the butter's melted, drop in your wet sprouts, and it's important they're still wet just to give that kind of steam environment so they really cook through properly. Now we're not going to be adding any more water to these because, like most vegetables, the flavour molecules in Brussels sprouts actually dissolve in water. So cooking them in water makes them pretty tasteless. And the same's true even when you steam them. Steam is just water vapour, and again those flavour molecules are going to dissolve essentially in that water. So we're going to cook them in fat. We're cooking them in butter and bacon fat because those flavour molecules will not dissolve in fats. All the flavours of those sprouts will be retained, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So with your wet sprouts in, just to create that bit of steam, pop the lid on. I reiterate, make sure it's on a really low heat. Give the pan a shake to make sure they're all coated in that lovely butter and bacon fat, and then leave it on that low heat for at least 25 minutes. You could go 35, 40 if you're feeling brave, but if it's your first time confit in sprouts, give it 25 minutes before you then go over and give the pan another shake. And at this point you can have a little peek if you want, see how it's doing. If you're starting to see that the sprouts are browning, that's exactly what you want. If you're starting to see that they're blackening, you need to put that pan on a lower heat. You need to cool that pan down somehow. And that might be the point at which you want to add some cold water, because it's better to have a slightly dissolved flavour profile than it is to have burnt sprouts. But you are looking for those sprouts to brown. That browning is caramelization of the natural sugars in there, and they counteract that bitterness that most people who don't like sprouts cite as being the reason they don't like it. So it's really important that you start to see some browning. If you're not seeing it yet, don't worry. You're going to pop them back on. You're going to leave them now up to the 50-minute mark. Not another 50 minutes, 50 minutes in total, that is. Check them again. You should be seeing some browning by now. You should be seeing most of the liquid in the pan that was fat anyway, butter and bacon fat, should now be beginning to disappear because those sprouts will be absorbing it. They're absorbing all that delicious buttery bacon fat flavour, essentially. Who's not going to like this, right? And then we let this run for about an hour and 15 minutes, and you can see the colour on these sprouts. They're really nice and brown, but not black, because the blackness is just going to add bitterness, which is what you don't want. That brown is sweetness, natural vegetable sweetness, and that is exactly what we're looking for. And at that stage, you can add your bacon back in, give them a bit of a stir, and then they're pretty much ready to serve. Alright, so that was about an hour and 20 minutes on a really low, slow heat. And at the end, we've got these beautiful little jewels worthy of garnishing any celebratory table. They smell absolutely delicious. Let's dive in. Cheers. That is exactly what I'm talking about. They've got an almost chocolate truffle type texture. They just kind of dissolve wonderfully in your mouth, and they're full of that beautiful buttery flavour. The inherent sweetness in the sprout is actually amplified, as I mentioned before, by that Maillard reaction you get when you gently brown green vegetables like Brussels sprouts. And that sweetness is really helping to mellow out that overwhelming bitterness that some people don't like in Brussels sprouts. These are fantastic. They're really nutty. They're just enhanced a little from that smokiness coming from the bacon. They're rich, they're indulgent, and they're a star of the show all on their own. If you've got anyone in your family or your friend circle who claims they don't like Brussels sprouts, make them this way, and I can almost guarantee they will be converted. Now, of course, this is a simple way of doing it. If you want to make it vegetarian, you can just omit the bacon. The sprouts really are the star, the bacon is just the supporting act. You can imagine how good these must be for bacon to be a supporting act, right? So you can afford to do away with the bacon if you want to. You can also add some fresh herbs, something like some fresh sage in there would be really nice. And it also works quite nicely with chestnuts. So really, feel free to adapt however you want to. Me personally, I can do these without the bacon, just the sprouts, the butter, and the low, slow cook. And they just become something I never realised a sprout could be. Confit Brussels sprouts are the way of the future. So I hope you find these as revelatory as I did. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed, please consider subscribing to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss more videos like this. And please like the video, give it a share. Comment if you'd like to leave your thoughts on these Brussels sprouts. Let us know if you make them, and let us know how they go for you. Thank you again for watching. A very Merry Christmas to you all, and we look forward to seeing you next time.